everyone to the Mindful Magazine channel. I'm really excited today because today I have with me Runa Magnusdottir, if I say it correctly, and Nicolas Haines. Thank you so much for coming today. I have a question. Could you introduce yourselves a bit more? And you wrote a wonderful book together, The Story of Boxes. Could you tell me how the journey went on writing this book together?
Mm.
Who would like to start?
Nick starts. Gentlemen first. You know the rule.
So my name is Nick Haines, and I'm from the Five Institute and part of a group called the Changemakers, which was founded by Runa here. And my background is Chinese philosophy, Chinese medicine. And that's about all I really want to say about myself, because as we're going to explore, I'm not going to box myself into who I am and what I've done. We're going to have a bigger exploration of what we're about. So
because the book is all about boxes, right?
All about boxes and liberation, peace and happiness. So that's me. Runa, off you go.
Okay, so I am Runa and I'm Magnusdottir and I am from Iceland. And yes, like Nick is saying, I'm the founder of the Changemakers. And the reason why I think I can talk to Nick about Nick as well at the same time, why we went into writing the book is really this thing that we simply cannot stand, the fact that we ourselves and other people around us are boxing ourselves, and we're putting ourselves and others into boxes that are so often limiting us. They're preventing us from being really who we are. They are suffocating us. We don't have air to breathe, and they are dividing us in so many different ways, and it just does not make any sense. And it just doesn't make any sense to do that in the year that we're living in. Yeah. Absolutely not. So it's essential for humankind to wake up and see, number one, these boxes are invisible, and that we have to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as we say men are like this and women are like this, then that defines and blocks them out. Or as soon as we say millennials are this way, or these people are like this, we've suddenly ended up with all this made up stuff that limits women to be a certain way, men to be a certain way, millennials, and it's just made up.
Why do you think that people do that? Because I know everyone does it. I probably do it myself.
There are kind of, in the book, the story of boxes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good, the bad, and the ugly in the title is really important, because not all boxes are bad. Some are really good, but some are really bad, and some are really ugly. So in the book, we talk about the kind of 7 main drivers that we have as to what made us do this in the first place. And they're things like, boxes, the world's complicated. So if we put people in boxes, it kind of makes it all simple and we can classify them. You might do boxes because they kind of make us feel safe. Oh, you're like that and we're like this. We do it for defense. We might put ourselves into a box because we want to share an experience. We want to say, okay, so us as a group of stamp collectors, we're going to come together as stamp collectors and we're going to share our stamps and talk about them. And that might be absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, because maybe sometimes people, they want to belong to a group as well. Yeah. And they want to name the group. I want to be part of this group, and we name ourselves this. And, you want to believe that maybe even as a group, you're stronger or better than when you're alone as an individual.
Yeah.
And so often that's the thing. We are stronger together. We are. And that is absolutely not a question about that. But like the example that Nick is taking with the stamp collectors, if the stamp collectors are starting to divide themselves into, we only collect stamps that were created in the year 1900, and everyone else who is collecting stamps that are from 1901 are not really our type of people, and we find them distressful, and we start to divide ourselves in the stamp collection group. it becomes us and them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can take that to an extreme. You can say, okay, I believe that as people, we should ride on horses and wear white hoods and have burning crosses. And certain people of certain colors and nations are not the same as us. And you've suddenly got the Ku Klux Klan. You know, or you might
go further, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can say, well, certain people are like this and other people are like this. And therefore that justifies our decision to vilify them, exclude them, to persecute them. It was what the Holocaust was about. It was what slavery was about.
Yeah.
So you can move from stamp collectors to the Ku Klux Klan, to mass genocide, and you can do it in a heartbeat. And it happens so subtly.
Yeah.
And it's entrenched in all of us. We do it all of the time.
And how do you think that process goes? Like, should we have some limits? Because if we're talking about this, where should be a limit? And how do these groups start? How does that go?
The limit should be about our awareness that, first of all, we will do this. It's impossible not to do it. We will do this. But it's becoming the awareness of what's the consequence of this box for me, for society. And Runa, you really consequences.
The consequences, they can be good and they can be bad and they can be simply ugly. And you can find, as life goes on, you can find yourself going into a box with the full intention, this is a really good box for me. I am nurturing myself. I am finding I'm loved, I'm appreciated, I'm valued. Let's take, for an example, so many relationship boxes. You know, you go into a relationship, you fall in love, if that is a loving relationship. You go into that relationship and it's just such a rosy thing, isn't it? It's such a nice box. And then before you know it, it's like it sneaks. You all of a sudden, you're finding yourself, that same box is not nurturing anymore. It actually turned into a bad box. Or in so many cases, it is damn ugly box. And you're no longer allowed to do what you always wanted to do. You're finding yourself, you're being restricted. You're finding yourself that you're not, just things are just not nurturing you. And that's when you start to even grow inside all the diseases and everything that happens with you, depression and anxiety and you name it.
Yeah.
And so awareness and being just being aware that where am I and where am I putting you?
Yeah.
And am I putting myself, am I loving and sending myself and being love and kind to myself so that I can be love and kind to you as well, Michelle? And I will allow me to grow and have space to grow and explore the life as beautiful as it is. And am I allowing you to do that? I think that is a huge question that is just it's just happening over and over and over and over again. And just like with any other muscle that we train and we become better and better and better at it, the more you open your eyes for this. And I'm telling you, for anyone that is listening, you will be thinking about boxes for the rest of your life. And that's good. Because that's the first step.
Yeah.
And have fun with it. I mean, Nick and I, we laugh at this all the time. We go, oh my God.
Yeah.
And we do.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, one of the powers of this box, of understanding this world in the form of boxes, one of the massive powers to it is, like Runa says, once you see you started to do it, you go, oh my goodness, I've just limited myself by thinking that as this sort of person, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And as you, as this sort of person, I assume that you are like this. And once you start to recognize that we're doing that all the time, that's incredibly powerful. And we will do it all the time. So there's no blame. It's just an observation. That's what we'll do. And we need to be aware of the consequences, etc. But the really powerful thing about this is that once you get into these conversations about boxes, you can, as Runa said, you can just share with the other person, oh, I'm really sorry. I think I've just put you in a box. And they go, Yeah, I think you have. Okay. And what it does is it creates a lightness, a humor, a fun to it.
Yeah.
There's a non-blame. So we were recently in Washington, DC, and we were working with, we'll say it's private, but we were working with a group of people in Washington. And one of them said to Runa, who is very stylish, and she said, "Oh God, I love that Icelandic style. It's so really good. Americans are so bad at dressing." And then she suddenly went, "Oh God, I've just put American women are so bad at dressing," she said.
Yeah.
And we just all burst out laughing. She said, "Oh God, I've just put the whole of America, every single woman in America, I've just put them in a box as bad dressers."
Yeah.
And we creased up with laughing because how ridiculous is that? But that's the sort of thing that we do all the time. So the joy of the box is that it's a non-blaming, non-judgmental observation of the silly stuff that we do that can move to be really destructive.
And how can we see in which box we are? Because I mean, you have to be aware first of which box you belong to. So it could maybe be that by defining myself in a box I don't know, I define other people in their box that maybe they don't belong to either.
Absolutely, yeah,
isn't it?
Well, and that is actually really the first step is to be aware that you are in a box, and then finding out which box am I in. And like Nick said, we really went into the drivers behind it. So sometimes you can find in which box you're in when you look at the drivers. But I also feel often when I'm looking at my own box, and I'm looking at boxes with I work with hundreds of people worldwide, and helping them to understand their box, and helping them to make their box big enough so that they can breathe and live and grow. And one of the things that when you to understand that you are in a box, that is, then you are already in a box, but I mean a box that is not serving you anymore, is often finding out, where am I struggling?
Yeah.
In which area of my life am I struggling? And that is the indicator that whatever that is a box.
Yeah. It's almost like a square in astrology, because I'm going. It's a square, which means it's it's boxing you. It's an obstacle.
Sometimes one way to do it is you might think about big boxes. You say, okay, let's look at a big box. Let's look at a gender box.
Yeah.
So, as a man, what is it that I'm perceiving about a man that may not serve me?
Yeah.
What am I perceiving about other men of certain types that may not serve them or my relationship with them? As a woman, what is it about being a woman that I have perceptions that I have in that woman box that might actually be limiting me? Or so you might just look at your gender. You might look at your history, your life experience. Okay, so I've had this life, and this life has told me certain things, and they've created my boxes.
Yeah.
So it might be your gender, it might be your life, or it might be how you perceive yourself in terms of your talents and your gifts.
Yeah.
So I'm dyslexic. So I was told at school, oh, you're dyslexic, or there was certainly something was wrong, and therefore I was put in the stupid box, because that's what they did in the 1970s, 60s.
Yeah.
If you couldn't spell and you couldn't read, okay, that must mean you're in the stupid box, because people that can't spell and read are stupid. Or people that are stupid can't spell and read, so you must be in that box because you can't spell and read. That's fine. But then that creates issues for me. So when I come to write this book, I can't write this book because I'm not really good at spelling, and I'm probably quite stupid because I was told that's the box I'm in. Yeah. And it creates an enormous anxiety about writing a book, because what was that about? other than the box that I historically had myself in as a dyslexic. And dyslexics aren't good at reading and writing, so I better not write a book.
Yeah. And how did it go in the end?
Yeah, I actually spend most of my time writing. I love writing. Actually, I'm quite good at writing, but it was a block because I'm in the dyslexic box and we're not good at writing.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is such a good example with what Nick is saying. We tell ourselves this or that, and it comes from somewhere. I mean, it comes from somebody told us or whatever. We really cling on to that.
Yeah.
And it's like I never found myself being that woman that feminine thing that is put, which is so dangerous when we put feminine values into one box and masculine values into another one. Just calling it those two things is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because as an example, if we say a feminine value is being caring, co-creating, someone who is loving and
collaborative.
Collaborative and all of that, and then we put into the being the masculine box, you say, oh, it's strong, driven, fast forward thinking, and we say, we talk about that if you're a woman, then that's what you should have, and if you're a man, that's what you should have. Well, hang on a minute. I've done this test a number of times with groups, asking them, mixed gender group, asking them, okay, so look at those loaded values that we have there.
Yeah.
And just look, and just today, just as you are today, because, really, who are you today? So would you say you're more this or that?
Yeah.
And just go to two different places in the room.
Yeah.
And you know what? It splits in the center. There are equal amount of women that go in there and equal amount of men. So just that alone tells me this is beep. And that is, but still, because this has nothing to do with our rational thought, it has nothing to do with all the knowledge, all the education that we have, all the it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how we're wired.
Yeah.
And if we're not aware that this is just how we are wired, and there is another system underneath that is working all of these things, and we just believe that is the thing, that's the right thing and nothing else is right, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I've just seen this time and again.
Yeah. So we're kind of living up to a box that we think we should be in, but we're not, because it's not who we are.
Yeah. And all that guilt, that thing, or the judgment on you. Okay, look at this person. They're pretending to be a man to get on in a man's world. Look at them driven. They're doing all these masculine stuff. Why can't they embrace their femininity? One of the very first conversations, when Runa and I first met, and I do this work with the kind of Chinese energies, and we were talking about gender, and Runa was kind of being pressured from certain areas to embrace her femininity, that there was something. And coincidentally, at the same time, I'd been to a business coach who said that I had to man up. My issue was I wasn't being a man in my business, because I was collaborating and I was sharing and I was doing all this soft stuff, and to be successful I needed to embrace being a man. Runa at the same time was being told, you need to embrace your femininity. So both of us were wrong, and both of us were utterly brilliant at what we did.
And you wrote a book together. You started the whole movement. So something is it's working.
It's working. It absolutely is. And just having that conversation and just opening up for going deeper having deeper conversation than what we're used to have is the that has been a real joyous thing for us, Nick, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We're seeing that in ourselves as we're testing things ourselves in the process, and we go, oh my God, you know what I'm doing? And we're like, oh, we're seeing what we have. You know, it's sometimes pretty ugly to see what is underneath in our own little skin. Yeah. But it isn't until you take that out and you empty that out that you have space to put something new in it.
Yeah.
And so you have to do that. Otherwise, it's just on that same automation and expecting different results.
Yeah, yeah. We need to create the space first for new things to enter. Yeah, absolutely. And do you think now, in the time with social media, you think that the boxes and the judgments have grown because of that?
Yeah.
Well,
I think what we are is the problem with social media is it narrows everything down and makes it very instant in that moment. Yeah. So the boxes are very, very good at us making instant judgment. They allow us to make instant judgments. Okay, I look at you, you remind me of someone else, they're in a particular box. I see that you're a woman, you're in that box as well. So they allow us to make very quick and narrow judgments about people.
Yeah.
And those will inherently be totally and utterly wrong.
Yeah.
And they can be very cruel, and they can be very nasty, and they can be totally limiting. And we see in social media, we see kids that making judgments on what someone should be like, or how they should be, or do they fit in their social box of how they think everyone should be behaving. And if you don't fit in that box, we have the right on social media to persecute you. Because you're different. And then you have other boxes, other groups of people that embrace being different, and they persecute people for conforming. Oh God, you're such a conformist. Look at you living this TikTok world. You should be free and liberated like us. And other people are TikTok world, and they're being persecuted for thinking differently or dressing differently outside. You're dressing differently than outside the club, the group.
Yeah, so, actually, there was also one thing I've seen a lot on social media, and I actually wrote about it, that people said, be free, quit your job today, do this, why are you still in this small world? And I'm like, yeah, it's maybe some people actually like their job.
Yeah.
We cannot all be entrepreneurs and start our own business.
And interesting enough, in the book, we have a story. One of the stories is about an entrepreneurial father who thinks his family, his daughter, wants to be an entrepreneur, should be an entrepreneur because that's the life. So he's very liberated. He's very free thinking about what women can do, etc. And he thinks that entrepreneurship is the thing to do. And she actually wants she actually wants to be a doctor in a TikTok world, doing the same thing each day. Yeah. He said, "Oh, be it." So it's whatever box we're in. So you're absolutely right. People are persecuted for being routine.
Yeah.
If you're all in a box that says you should be free and liberated, or you're in a box that says you should have a job, all these. Or whether you're a hippie, or whether you're a this, or whether you're straight, or whether you're gay, or whether you like this music, it's just madness.
We're all a bit strange in a way.
It's absolute madness. And the good thing about this, and when we want to have this in a playful way, we think it's absolutely crucial that we don't go the spiral into this is not, that's not working, but have fun with it, explore it, and allow yourself to not to take yourself too seriously. I sometimes say, it's useless anyway. You're never going to get out of this life alive anyway. So don't take yourself too seriously in this process. You will do this. And one of the things that we felt it was really enlightening for me when I noticed that people started to say, oh my God, I have language. I have like Nick was saying earlier, I have a language that I can use. I can say, instead of being embarrassed when I notice that I've done this, or I start to hide it with the white lies or whatever, I can start to say, oh, wow, I think I just put you into a box. Or even when you notice that you've been put into a box, and you can say, I think you just put me into a box. And that takes the blame away.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And how do you think, for example, in these really extreme cases, I don't know, homosexuality in church, that's a quite extreme box. How do you think there is a way that those extreme boxes could be removed or softened?
Some of the way around it is that if what you're fundamentally doing is you're creating an awareness and you're breaking down lots of little small boxes that feel quite safe to break down. And you kind of get used to recognizing that we've done this and we've done that, and then what happens is you start to be able to have a conversation of breaking down some quite big boxes that and it's really coming from a place of deep understanding, curiosity, and compassion and kindness, looking at understanding, well, I kind of get why you need to have people in that box, because it might help with your fear about homosexuality. It might fit with your security that you get from having a solid faith and a religion. So it creates a compassion for people that have created those boxes, but also at the same time making the boxes evaporate, because people recognize that it's make-believe. It's like when you watch a film and you can be really scared and then you suddenly think, oh, it was just a film. It wasn't really life. It was just a film. And if people kind of have stuff and boxes that they've been put into, once you realize that actually just people did it because they were scared, or they were frightened, or they were this, or they were that, or they weren't aware, and actually they're all made up, then the boxes just go poof. So when I did my dyslexic and my writing box, it just went poof. Okay, that's fine. I'll live with that. But I do like some of the dyslexic stuff because we're meant to be different thinkers and whatever. So I'll keep some of that, but the other stuff, you know what I mean? So it's being aware, and it is a breaking down of all the little ones. In a fun, really fun way. You break down all the little ones. The big ones will. The big ones will disappear because there is nothing supporting them.
It's about a kind of a domino effect. Like you need to start with one person. That person is involving or creating this awareness themselves, talking about it to the other person who is interested will take over, then starts in that environment. There's also something really important, and this kind of really fits with your work as well. What the boxes do to us is they're a symptom, and they also create poor self-esteem. So if I have poor self-esteem, I have to put myself in a box that has a certain status to make me feel better about me. I kind of, in order to feel better about me and elevate myself, it would really help if I could put you in a box that was lower and make you look not so good. So I'm going to ridicule you or put you in a box that's quite low, and to elevate my status, to make myself feel better about myself. Well, why don't I feel good about myself in the first place? Well, often because there's a secret inside me that says I don't really fit in this box. I'm meant to be like this. I don't really feel like this. So
ooh, I don't really feel good about myself. So we kind of spiral downwards. Then we have to create the status, then we have to put you down. So the whole thing about boxes, one of the very things that sits at the heart of it is how we feel about ourselves, and particularly our sense of self-esteem and self-worth.
Yeah, yeah.
So the boxes allow us to feel better about ourselves.
Yeah.
And therefore, we don't need the ego and the status to say, well, I am so-and-so, and I speak here. I'm part of this group, and you're not. And I'd just like to say that makes me better than you, and I think you know that.
That English, oh my God.
It's crazy.
It is. But you're so right. And then it goes, well, here I am, and I'm gonna, because I am in that box.
Yeah.
I can treat you that way, and but really down inside, I'm still trying to figure out who am I, and why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling, and I still don't feel that I'm accepted, but I'm in that status box.
Yeah. I have to behave towards the box that I think that
And we just did a box there. I did an impersonation of someone with an upper class accent that speaks like this, and I ridiculed someone in a box.
Exactly.
And I've just written a book that we're not meant to do that, and I just did it.
You just did it. Oh.
Sorry.
Exactly.
So I've just ridiculed all white men of a certain age that have a certain accent and a certain education as having a certain way of thinking. I just, without even realizing I was doing it.
That these people are in the wrong box, and that's why they don't feel comfortable with themselves. Because if you're on the right box that you think or at least you feel good at, then you don't have to behave better or lower, because even some people take a position that is actually lower than themselves than they really are, because they feel they have to be inferior to other people, and that could be a job or maybe in a family or something like that. So it could be that they also put themselves in that spot.
Or just recognize that they're all made up.
They're all made up. Exactly.
Is made up by us as human beings to make sense of the world or feel safe or whatever.
Or whatever, exactly.
It's all made up.
When we go back to the roots, we're just citizens of the planet. So all the racism, everything, we're all born and we're all going to go, and we're just having an experience here, and there's no barriers or countries. It's kind of just, it's nice to have.
And that's the central theme of the movement. Is to create exactly what you describe.
Yeah. And what about the movement? What do you do with the movement that you created?
So the movement is really all about raising the awareness. And we are offering tools that we call Normal Boxes Breakfast Club and Breakthrough events, where we are creating safe space for people to come together physically, because we think that is something that is more needed in the world that we're living in today. Although the setup where we are right now is beautiful and everything is okay with the technology, we still want to come together, and where we have deep, non-judgmental conversations that open up for the unconscious bias thinking, or how we're layering things, how we're boxing things, so that we can bring in what we want to bring in. So creating space for whatever it is that we want to call into our lives. So we're doing that, and the whole thing is really about understanding, number one, you're always going to do this. When you do this, it is what we see. And Nick, maybe you want to continue on that journey. What happens when we see people understand that they have done this, and they are in a box, and they've understood their box? You want to go on, Nick, with that? Because I know you've seen.
So first of all, the simple thing that we do is we just get people to think, okay, you're going to put people in boxes. That's what we all do. Don't worry about it. Then the second one we go is, okay, so what's the consequence of having put them in the box? What's the result of it? And then the third thing is, what's that really saying about me?
Yeah.
What does that say about me? So we do things like that in the breakthrough event, in the breakfast clubs.
Yeah.
The central thing about the movement is it's actually people like you.
Yeah.
That engage in a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and we start having. It starts to become what the idea of the movement is, that the boxes just become a common language that we get to be able to call out how brilliant we are as human beings and how absolutely daft we are as well.
Yeah.
And the movement is about, how do we share this? How do we get it into schools? How do we get it into the workplace? How do we get it into our heads? How do we get it into families, groups, society, politics, economic? How do we get it into those bigger conversations? Because if we do that, we reduce down things, all the big stuff that we're battling with at the moment. At the heart of it sits as boxes, whether it's the economy we're struggling with at the moment, whether it's globalization, whether it's racism, whether it's violence, whether it's kids suffering, whether it's a gender question, whether it all comes down to boxes. So the idea of the movement is to create a high level awareness that they exist. And we have people like yourself who get us on. We have people that buy the book, that share the book. We have a group of people who are our patrons.
Yeah.
Because, like most movements, it doesn't have a central fund to it.
Yeah. It just happens naturally.
It happens. Although we're fabulously wealthy in our own right, and we're funding it, the whole thing is actually a global and collective movement. And we have a wonderful group of people, our patrons, who pay small amounts of money each month to create the materials, to develop things, to create packages. Where, Runa, do you want to say about, we can't say the details of this, but our patrons are helping fund us a game. Coming out.
Oh, that's exciting.
The No More Boxes game that we can use in workplaces, that we can use with our families, with our friends, as a common tool. Our vision is that people will be able to use this, create their own little spaces, and just that terminology, hey, let's do a breakfast club, is a game. It's a game where you're just exploring and you're having fun, and you can laugh at each other, you can laugh at you, and you basically just everything is right and everything is wrong, or nothing is right or nothing is wrong. It's just this. And so we're doing that, and it is just so much fun, and it just creates that. It deepens your connections. It deepens connection with people that you are surrounding yourself with, whether it's your family or friends or your co-workers or your own organization or your nonprofit or whatever it is. We see that this connects people together in a deeper way, and in a way that we're not used to. And that's why we've been asked to come and speak at conferences, and to give a little insight into that, just as a little nudge to understand, to get a little feeling for that. And specifically because the angle that we're coming in with, the angle was, for example, with gender equality. I mean, I've been in gender equality and a real fighter for equal rights, and that both gender have the same equity in other people's mindsets, so that we have our own equity, we feel our equity, and we are valued for who we are, not by our gender or race. This is what I've been fighting for as long as I can remember. I've been speaking in conferences worldwide. Now I'm bringing in a whole new angle to it that doesn't create that us and them. Which I've seen has been the consequences of all the movements that are out there when it comes to women empowerment. As beautiful as they are, we're also facing that, and that is a gap that creates that conversations that are not going to bring us anywhere.
It's about bringing people together and using their strengths, not according to gender, but according to what they are capable of, and using that strength into one.
Yeah.
Also, I think time is up a little bit. So just for everyone who's watching, could you share where they can find your website and also where they can buy your book?
Oh yeah, you can find our website at nomoreboxesmovement.com. And there is a link to the book there as well, but you can also Google it on Amazon. The Story of Boxes, the Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Just as the film, only better.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. And for everyone who's watching, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more upcoming interviews, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. And I really hope to speak to you soon. And I will keep an eye on your movement because I'm really excited about it. I wish you a really, really great day. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Bye-bye.
Bye.